Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be sewing the Mccall'S 7975 View D, pictured on the model there. First I'm going to get started with cutting out these pattern pieces. I believe there are 4, maybe 5, front, back, neckband, sleeve, and then a sleeve frill for the certain views that include that.
You're gone now, will you call me back? Yeah, I know that, yeah, I know that. You're the traveling kind, it's a known fact. Yeah, I know that. Once you've seen all the things, all the places, I hope it means that you'll come home to me. Once you've traveled the world, all the spaces inside your heart, I hope I'll be your end destination. I hope I'll be your life-changing sensation. I hope I'll be something that you won't let go. I'll be your high when you fall down low. I hope I'll be your end destination. You're far away and yet so close. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, you're up in space. You're inside the noise. I can feel you. Once you've seen all the things, all the places, I hope it means that you'll come home to me. Once you've traveled the world, all the spaces inside your heart, I hope I'll be your end destination. I hope I'll be your life-changing sensation. I hope I'll be.
Here is a bit of a better look at the actual pattern cover. Again, I'm going to do View D, so just the long sleeve version. Okay, I'm going to go over my pattern pieces now. This is the front. You can see it looks kind of weird because there are these two, I guess, tie pieces there at the bottom that will create our twist. So it looks a little funky, but that is the front. You cut one out of those. Here is the back piece. Cut one on the fold. It's pretty standard. And then we have our sleeve, and this is the long sleeve version. There are a couple other points where you can cut to make it a short sleeve or for the frill version. And then finally we have the neckband. This is the fabric that I'll be using today. It is a charcoal jersey with white stripes, and I actually got it at Walmart. So what I'm doing first here is just marking these dots with my invisible ink pen or disappearing ink. There's just one triangle at the kind of the apex of these two flaps, I guess you could say, in the front. Then on the side there are 2 circles at kind of each side of the apex of the curve. That'll make sense later. Just marking these dots so I can see them when I'm sewing. And what we're going to do is sew through the dot about an inch on each side, just to reinforce it. Alright, so this is what it's looking like. You can barely see my black thread, but they're kind of just two, really it's like half an inch on either side of the dot, so it's like an inch total. And then we're gonna cut right up to the dot, but not through the stitching. That on either side. And finally, we're going to create a narrow hem at 5/8 of an inch, which is our seam allowance. So you can see here the two slits that I made. You're just going to fold it in twice. So here you can see we've made our reinforcements. I went ahead and sewed those, and now I'm going to reinforce this center slit. So I went 5/8 of an inch on either side of the kind of center line and then the edges down below. And that pin represents that triangle or dot that I marked in the beginning. So now I'm just cutting up all the way to that dot to make like the full length of the slit there. And here we're also going to do that same narrow hem. So fold over the raw edge twice to make a narrow hem. So to start the twist, we're going to take this right flap and we're going to fold it back on the same side to meet this other raw edge, as you see. And we're going to pin those raw edges and sew them from the edge of the fabric all the way to those dots that we marked in the beginning. And this will create a little opening for us to put the left flap through to kind of make that twist illusion. Okay, so we are back, and this is what the right hand side of the right front is looking like. You can see there's that, it's really more like a curve right now, and there's that little hole, little opening, and that is the reinforced side pieces that we did in the beginning. So I'm going to take the left flap and put it over and through that little hole. Now I just flipped it over, and then we are going to pin and sew the left hand side raw edges like we did with the first step, or with the right hand side. Just pinning now. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sew from the raw edge up to that circle that we marked. Okay, now I'm just going to stay stitch the neck. Alright, so now that I have done the stay stitching, we're going to connect the front to the back, or the back to the front at the shoulders. And this pattern uses double stitching, I think it's what it's called. So you have your first stitch line at your regular seam allowance, which is 5/8 of an inch for this pattern, and then you go 1/4 of an inch towards the raw edges to make a second row of stitching, and it just makes it more secure, and it especially helps with these drapier fabrics, and they're kind of heavier like these jerseys. Alright, pinning that, I'm gonna go sew it. Here is what that double stitching looks like. Alright, now time to attach the back to the front at the side seam. Now it is time to attach the neckband. Well, not attach yet, but to close up the neckband. So I'm going to fold that in right sides together, sew up the ends there. That'll be our center back. Alright, now it is time to attach the neckband. There's the neck opening of my bodice, and then that is my center back seam for my neckband. Alright, so at one of my notches, you notch the shoulder seams on the neckband, or where the shoulder seams meet, and that's how I started to attach the neckband. You kind of have to stretch the neckband out and kind of see how it lines up with the center front and center back. And the neckband is going to be shorter than or smaller, I guess, than your neck opening, so you will have to stretch your neckband to fit around the neck opening, but in doing that, your neckband will kind of snap like closer to your neck, so that it creates like a nice nice neckline when you wear it, and you'll see that later on. Alright, so here I'm just going to trim my seam allowance for my neckband and the neckline of my bodice. And this is important because it reduces bulk around the neckline and really any seam. And here is the neckband attached. Looks nice. Now it is time to prep the sleeves to attach. So I'm just going to take the pattern piece off. And I'm going to pin or fold over and pin the seam of the sleeve. Alright, so now I'm going to attach that sleeve to the shirt, to the bodice, and I start at that bottom seam of the sleeve, match it to the side seam of the bodice, and pin it, and then I'll flip my bodice over, kind of pull my sleeve through. It took me a while to conceptually get this, but it's the easiest way I've found to attach sleeves. And then you go find your notches, the back notch and the front notch, and then kind of go up to the kind of crown of the sleeve from the bottom. I find that's the easiest way to attach sleeves. Okay, so I am just finishing up pinning my sleeve to my bodice, and I'm going to sew that and then finish my hems for my sleeve and the back piece of my shirt, and then I'll be done. And here is what the final product looks like. I am very happy with it, and it fits great, feels great, and yeah, it was a fun shirt to make, and I will be using that pattern again. Thanks so much for watching, and please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.